You know my name. I'm Cynthia, and I'm the host of the reality series, CPS the Horror Stories. I'm not an attorney or a social worker, but I am a mother of 2 children who had them kidnapped by Child Protective Services a few years ago. After fighting for 2 years, I did get my kids back. But that doesn't mean that we don't still struggle with the trauma from the corruption and devastation that CPS causes when they're in your life, because it's forever. So, Alexis, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yep. My name is Alexis Kramer. I reside in Minnesota. And I was actually homeless previously when I did my first interview. And I just finally got into a housing program like 2 months ago. So I'm in a group residential housing in Maplewood. And I'm hoping to continue to follow through with my case plan and hopefully eventually get my 2 children back.
Really fast, for people who don't know your story, let's give them your story in a nutshell.
Let's see. So I grew up as a foster child as well, once when I was a baby, once when I was 17. After I aged out of foster care the second time, based on neglect and abuse. I moved into a Section 8 housing for 3 years in Brooklyn Park, and stayed there on a Section 8 voucher for those 3 years. After expired was when I had both my children. Child protection was in and out of my life, mostly because when I first became a parent to my oldest, I wasn't exactly sure how to parent my oldest. So I agreed to go to parenting classes. And they closed everything. But when I had my youngest was when they opened it back up again. And because of my past, they accused me of child abuse and neglect. I let other people watch my children.
What part of your past made them accuse you of those things?
Well, it was mostly because I grew up being abused and neglected. And because I wasn't really taught on how to be a parent or on how to love or anything like that, they assumed that because of that, it was a reason of why they should, remove my children from my care. But I do have reason to believe because it's the color of my skin. Minnesota here likes to target African American children more than other children. But they also do the same thing to the Indian children as well, and the Native American people here. So if it's any children that are of color, they will go after them. It could be different in other states, but I'm just statistically only referring to Minnesota.
Yep, understood. So go on. But actually, before you go on, because of your history in foster care yourself, why were you in the system?
I was in the system first. I don't remember much about it, but from what I heard, my little brother was killed. He had shaken baby syndrome. And I'm not exactly sure how old I was to even recognize that I had a brother. But I didn't know about it until I went back with my foster family, which was my aunt and uncle, when I was 17, because I was sexually abused by my mom's ex-boyfriend. Short story is
was mom aware?
I'm sorry?
Was your mom aware of the sexual abuse?
She was, but when I told her about it, and she didn't really believe me. So it was that point where she she didn't believe me until I went to the actual hospital. And she actually was in detox when I actually got sexually abused. So she really didn't know anything about it until she got out of detox. But they immediately put me in foster care after I called my aunt and uncle and told them what happened.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had to do like a rape kit, which is standard.
How old were you?
17. So I had to do a rape kit at 17, and that's when they didn't have enough evidence to hold the person, so they let him go like 2 days after. The guy was like in and out of jail growing up anyway, so it was just like they kind of already knew him, so it was just like a catch and release kind of thing, I guess.
Okay. It's ridiculous. All right. So now, all right, let's jump to, as a mom, how did CPS get involved?
CPS first became involved because when I first had my oldest, I wasn't sure how to be a mother to him, because when you first become a mother, you don't know what it's like to raise a child because they don't come with a handbook.
Right.
So when they first became involved, it was just like a family assessment kind of thing. When they get false accusations, like it wasn't like severe enough from them to say, oh, we have to remove your children from you. It was just a point where they had to investigate, and they basically didn't find anything. Like I wasn't abusing him or neglecting him or anything.
Right.
It was just like it was just like a medical problem kind of thing. For the first 2 months, he wasn't able to eat. He was constantly throwing up, screaming since birth, like he was in pain. They didn't figure out what was wrong with him until he turned 2 months, and he had to get surgery. So after that surgery was when child protection became involved and actually told me that I had to go to parenting class. So I went to parenting class. I wasn't arguing with him because, I wanted to educate myself more on what it's like, of what I should know to be a parent. But the problem with that was like I wasn't able to retain many things. Like there was a lot of information that was being thrown at me that I wasn't actually understanding.
Like what?
Sorry, go ahead.
Like what? What information?
Like the developmental stages. Like I was just having a hard time like keeping track of, what should I look out for? What should I be doing with him? What should I, how should I feed him? Or it was stuff like that. Like what should I be aware of feeding him? Like what can I give him? What can I not give him? And it like came to that point where like I didn't really know much, that I had to ask my aunt that's been living in Missouri. She moved here, and I got to become closer for 5 years. So I asked her if she can help me with him because I had no idea what I was doing. And by that time, my mom passed away from cancer in 2015. So I really didn't have anyone to help support me with my children, except for my aunt. So she helped me, and she, I guess, basically in a way, she was basically the one that was helping me with my oldest. She was able to get him to walk, get him to talk and say some few words, stuff that like I should have been able to do, but I didn't know how. So she was basically like a helping step.
Yeah.
And it was just like things like that, even through all that, like, I became very close with him for the, 2 years I had him. And then I found I was pregnant with my youngest, like 2 years later. And that was rough. I mean, I had to get a lot of like parenting help still. I was still getting a lot of parenting help. I had mental health problems, so I had to see a therapist and see a psychiatrist, and um I even was seeing an arms worker, and then just like all those, I had
What
like
does
all
that
those
mean?
things all at once. You said what's an arms worker?
Yeah.
Oh, it stands for Adult Rehabilitation Mental Health Social Worker.
Okay.
Um, it's just like another person that helps with mental health, but they do like certain things with you to help you like understand like your emotions more. So like for example, with my arms worker, she taught me how to be assertive because I had no idea how to be assertive when before I met her. And then there was like other things like, okay, what can we do to help you cope with your anxiety and depression so you're not like all balled up and just, having the anger like explode. It was just like an extra help to help me with like it's kind of like stuff that a therapist won't probably help you with mostly. Um
Got
so like yeah, so like anything that you like need extra help on, the arms worker is there for you.
it. Okay. So when did CPS originally get involved with you as a parent?
They became involved in 2017. So I've kind of been like dealing with them for like over 3 years now,
Yeah.
almost four.
And what was the original? Let's go over how they showed up in your life, how they took the kids, and stuff like that. And then
hmm
we'll proceed with the update.
So with my youngest, after he was born, um, he was presenting the same problems that my oldest was presenting after I gave birth with him. He was constantly screaming in pain since birth. He was throwing up his formula. And I'm gonna say that both my children didn't latch on, so I I had to turn to the formula. Didn't even realizing that formula was actually kind of bad for children. So if I had to change that going forward, I'd definitely try to do breastfeeding going forward. But um, yeah, it's like
That's okay.
yeah, it's things like that. You learn as you go.
Yeah.
So it's just a learning experience for me. It's just things that I actually never knew because I didn't get the education that I was supposed to get. Um, growing up here, like for example, I didn't know my Black culture. I didn't know it until I educated myself the beginning of this year. But the reason why CPS came after my two children was because of not only was it because of the past, but it was because when my youngest was at 2 months or before he was 2 months, I was letting other people watch my children. Didn't even realizing like, oh, something can happen, while they were in their care. And the last time I asked for help, because I asked for help 3 different times, figuring out, okay, there's something going on. Like he's not gaining the weight. Like his weight was just going up and down, just like my oldest was doing. And exactly when he turned 2 months was when they found out he had a broken ankle. And they basically accused me of doing it because I'm the primary caregiver. That's mostly how it works. They never investigated the other parties that were watching my children that same week. They just accused me of doing it.
It's basically like because we have ownership of our children, we're responsible for every little thing. But as a single parent, I can speak for this. Um, it's very difficult, like when I have to go to the hospital, for example, and I ask somebody to watch my children. Obviously, I'm trusting them, but I don't have eyes on them 24/7, and I only know what happens by what I get told.
Mm-hmm.
And children respond so differently to things, and no child will have the same reaction as another one. So if they're being threatened or whatever, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know.
Yep, that's true.
So go on.
Yep. No, that's true because, my children were young when they were taken. Even though I grew a bond with my 2-year-old, he actually turned 4 now, but, um, it still didn't make sense why, yes, even though it was an emergency, and I totally understand, I get it. They want to do what's best for the children, they want to protect the children, but in my personal opinion, why would you take a 2-month-old from a mother when they're supposed to be bonding with their mother?
Right.
For like however many months.
Right.
And I didn't, ever since they removed them, it's been a year now, almost 2 years going on. I miss like everything. I like miss his first smile. I miss his laugh. I miss, everything a mother is supposed to have. And I don't even get to see them on holidays. The only time I get to see them on holidays is if I ask, hey, can we do like a Zoom meeting? But other than that, it's like they don't want me to see them at all.
Okay, so and I apologize that I'm going to make you repeat yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me again what was the day they were removed?
They removed them on February 8th, 2019.
19?
Yep.
I thought you said 17.
2019. They took them a year ago.
What happened? Because you said you've been dealing with this for 3 years.
That's when CPS first started, but all those cases were closed. That was with my oldest.
Oh. Really fast. What were those ones for?
So the ones with my oldest, it was mostly just a bunch of people like, making up false allegations about me, making up lies because they, I don't know, they didn't like the way I was disciplining my oldest. It was just like they were just saying a lot of things that like I was being abusive and neglectful towards him when I actually wasn't. Um, the one time I did tell the worker that I made a mistake was, leaving my son unattended with my aunt because at that point she was in a nursing home. And I guess when people are in nursing homes, they're not allowed to watch your children. So that's the only thing that I meant to doing, and they closed it automatically after. They just told me not to do it again, and I didn't do it after that. But it was just the fact of everything else was just like false allegations.
How long did you leave him alone with her?
Just for like 5 minutes. I just went outside to get someone and then came back. Because he was sleeping in his car seat and she was watching him.
And who complained about this?
The staff at the nursing home. They didn't like that I was visiting her every day. Because I was like a regular person that was going there every day and they didn't like me.
People need to mind their own business.
Oh yeah. But they're mandatory reporters too, so they like to report everything they see, but they don't say it in the
right.
They don't say it in like the right manner. Just because they're a mandatory reporter doesn't mean they always usually tells the truth about things.
Okay. So, what happened next? They reported. What other reports were made? What other allegations?
Well, the nursing home made like 3 reports against me because they, like I said, they didn't really like me. They didn't like that I was the only Black person that was in there. That was actually visiting my family member. Everybody else didn't really get a visitor. But they just didn't like that I was there every day. They didn't like that I was close to most of their residents there. Um, they didn't even like my son being loud in their dining room when he was just a baby. But yeah, it's just the little things like that. And then after that, it was just other people that I think I know who may have done some false allegations against me, but I don't know because CPS won't tell you that. Um, the family member that took me into foster care, I believe she was the one that made 2 other false allegations against me just to get my oldest away from me because she didn't like the fact that I got pregnant at a young age.
How old are you, if you don't mind?
I'm 26 now.
Okay. How old were you when you had your first one?
22.
That's not young. I mean, it is, but you're an adult.
Mhm.
Okay.
She's like my grandparents where, they want me to go to school. They want me to, get a career. They want me to have marriage before children. Because I didn't follow their step. I followed the steps like my mom did. They didn't like that. So now they're basically writing me off saying that I'm just like my mom because I got pregnant the same age she got pregnant with me.
Okay. So let's go over the most recent allegation and removal of the children.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
They actually don't know what's happened. They just think they know for a fact that I'm the one that hurt my child. They didn't really state many allegations. They just did it based on like how I talked to them because I was naive and shy, so I actually didn't know how to talk when this whole case opened. And I basically like let them take advantage of me for a whole year. So I actually said a lot of, well, I was under duress when I said those things, but because of what I told the detective stating like,
Well, let's talk about how did the detective get there? Who called? Was it the hospital?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yep, my youngest was at the hospital and I was actually at my doctor's appointments when I got the CPS calls.
Who took him to the hospital?
I did.
Okay. You left him there?
No, I was with him for the 2 days that we were there. And then I asked the nurses if it was okay if I could come back after my appointments, and they said it was fine. And then that's when they just decided to do a whole body x-ray, and that's when they found the broken ankle was when I was gone.
Is that allowed?
No, but they said because I signed the thing when I got in there, they said they had every right to do that.
What was the thing you signed?
When you like do paperwork to admit your child in, they have you sign some like release of information or something. The release of care. The release of care stuff. They said because I signed that, they don't have to ask me permission to do a full body x-ray on him.
I feel like those things that we sign are for like emergencies though. You know what I mean? Like not just a random. Okay. So they do that. You're at an appointment, and then because they found that, they call CPS. So you come back after your appointment, right?
I try to go back to I actually did go back to the hospital, but When I got done with all my appointments, the CPS investigator called me again, and that's when she told me that they found that he had a broken ankle and that I wasn't allowed to go back to the hospital, and that both my children were on a 72-hour police hold, but they released my children within 2 days after that point.
But where was the other one if only one was in the hospital?
My oldest was with my aunt, and then they went with the foster family that has them now, because the foster family that has them now was supposed to watch them that weekend.
Okay, so one more time. So where was the oldest? With them already?
Yes.
Okay. And the little one in the hospital, so did they release the little one to the foster?
Yes.
Okay. And then where are you at this time?
So after the call, and of course I went to the worst case scenario, I called the cops on myself because I wanted to commit suicide at that point, and told them that, if I'm in an apartment by myself with knives, I was going to do something stupid, because obviously it's very hard to hear over the phone that you're not allowed to see your children again. Didn't even get to say goodbye or nothing. They just said, no, we're going to take them. But where is the seizure warrant? Because I never got a search warrant that it was okay for you to come in and take my children. Because they're supposed to do that too. And I never got one.
It's unless they're in imminent danger.
And that's probably what they used, was because they were in extreme danger. They were placed in emergency foster care. Both of them. Because if I abused one of them, they assume that I'm abusing the other one. So that's why they removed my oldest too.
Okay. So when was the first court hearing after that?
The first court hearing was on February 13th, 2019, 5 days after. And in those 5 days was when I first went to check in, CPS made another false allegation against me. And this time it was against my oldest, saying that I failed to change his diaper, and that, I didn't give him a bath or anything.
Who made this allegation?
A CPS worker.
But so the social worker made their own allegation?
Yep. 4 days. So 5 days was, so the 13th was when my court hearing was, and she made that allegation report on the 12th of February. But I didn't see that allegation until I went to court February 13th. And that's when I saw that she made another false allegation against me, but this time it was against my oldest, saying that I didn't take care of him, that I was letting random people watch him, or that his diaper was always messy when family members went to pick him up. And my family members don't even like my children to begin with. I don't even trust my family members with them, because at that point they wrote me off. But the only person that was watching them was my aunt and the foster family that has my children currently.
Just so people know that I'm not, you already know, but just so people know that I'm not, I'm focusing, just dealing with my belly leaking everywhere right now.
Okay.
Just so that I'm listening, but the reason I'm looking down is because I got stuff coming out everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so she makes this allegation. So you love February, you love Valentine's Day and everything just like I do, huh?
Nope.
Yeah. You know, my kids were removed from me on Valentine's Day.
Oh no.
They were kidnapped on Valentine's Day.
I don't know why everybody likes the February month. Oh.
Self-love.
Yep. That I think you know, now that you said that, that's probably what they were planning.
Don't you love all the love? Nice.
They were probably planning on that.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens when you go to court?
So I went to court with my best friend who was, you know, there when I gave birth to my youngest. She went to court with me for support. And when we got there, like I said, we checked in and we got the court documents, like the petition and everything, like on what they're, you know, using against me. Well, I handed it to her because, like I said, I have a hard time reading, understanding stuff. So I handed it to her to see if she can help me interpret what the papers were saying. And she basically told me
Who was
that
helping you interpret?
my friend.
Okay.
Yep, my friend was with me. So she helped me interpret it and said, they made another false allegation against you. And I was just like, wait, what? And my friend said, yeah, they just wrote an allegation against you yesterday saying that you didn't take care of your oldest. And I was just like, how does that make sense when my oldest wasn't even with me? They removed both of them on the 8th, but you're making a report on the 12th. So I was just like, all right. So, of course, I had no idea. I didn't know what I was doing, so I had to apply for a public defender. Because obviously I didn't know child protection laws or any of the laws at that point. So I applied for one, and we waited upstairs for almost an hour just to get into court. Because I guess there was a lot of cases before mine, so it took me a while to get in there. We got to court, and I had to apply for a public defender. And then after my best friend and I went upstairs to wait for the court hearing, we were waiting for like almost an hour just to get in because there was a lot of cases that were there before mine. And it was basically just a short court hearing. It was just basically saying, yes, we're going to remove her children because it's an emergency matter. So there wasn't really much that, you know, my public defender could do.
Did they say what the emergency was?
They called it egregious harm.
Means the infliction of bodily harm to a child or neglect of a child which demonstrates a grossly inadequate ability to provide minimally adequate parental care. That's what they said you did or have or whatever.
That's what they're saying I did.
Okay.
And for a person that don't really know anything about bones, you know, like a year ago, like I'm educating myself now, but like even a year ago, I don't even know anything about bones to even know if a bone is actually broken. Unless obviously if it hurts really bad, because the only thing I had experience with was breaking my foot. I broke my foot before. But I wouldn't know anything about breaking an ankle. But it was more so the fact that, you know, I kept bringing him in for the same, you know, concerns 3 different times to 3 different hospitals. And then finally, the last hospital that technically was supposed to be the best hospital here in Minneapolis found that he had that broken ankle.
Doesn't that show right there? Isn't that proof right there that you care, that you're...
Mm-hmm. Apparently it's not enough for the doctors here.
Okay. So what What does the judge put in place for you?
Well, so right now, obviously it's been a year now. Right now, like I followed everything on my case plan, and I don't know how it makes sense, but my case plan's voluntarily, because my petition went straight to permanency of, or sorry, termination of parental rights. So mine's a TPR. It just automatically just like, because of the egregious harm, it just automatically goes to a termination of parental rights petition. And obviously, like there are some people, like even if you do get a TPR, you can turn it back around. But being that I was homeless for almost 15 months, I mean, technically in a way I still am considered homeless because I'm not in a permanent place and I'm not paying for my rent, because I'm in a housing program. So the county's paying for it and the housing program's paying for it. So realistically, you know, the state of Minnesota is not technically helping poor families that are poor, get the help that
Yeah.
they need to actually do better with their children or actually get a chance to be with their families. So, I mean, as of this point, the only thing that I know that I have to do is obviously, make sure my mental health is under control, which I'm working on. I've been doing that for almost a year now.
Do you see
Well,
a
more than that,
therapist
but
or anything?
no, I actually do not have an attorney now.
No,
I
a therapist.
do have a therapist. Yep.
And they help with the mental health?
Yes.
Good.
Yep. I meet with her weekly.
Are you on any medications?
No. I was prescribed medication a year ago with my psychiatrist, but medications make me sick. So I told her if I could find a different coping skill, could I like stop taking pills? Because I honestly do not pay attention to them whatsoever. Like I'm really bad at like remembering to take them, and when I do, like I don't take them when I'm supposed to be eating a health, like a big meal or something. Like I don't eat it like that. I like to take it with water. And
I'll tell you, I am the worst at remembering meds.
yeah, it's just like you got to put in your phone, and even if you look at your phone, for me, I'll look at my phone, they'll tell me to take something and I'll just say, "Oh, I'll do it later." Then it never happens.
Yep.
Then it's the next day and it just goes on and on.
Yep. Or I hit snooze like 20 billion times.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yep. No, my coping skill is listening to music. I make my own music based on my emotions. And for this coping skill, so instead of
Yes.
medication, I listen to music and I make my own music based on emotions. There's this person on YouTube that makes beats for everybody, or well, yeah, technically everybody, and everyone is free to use it as long as they credit him. So I've been working with him, and he's basically my producer. So he's been helping me like do a lot of music, try to find my voice, and that's kind of a little bit about my self-care stuff. I also go to bingo a lot too, but
I think that's amazing though that you have things that work for you.
Yes.
So how often do you see your children?
So right now I see my children twice a week, once in person and once on Zoom.
Okay. And I'm sorry, are they both boys?
Yes.
Okay. Do they have the same father?
No, they got two different dads.
Okay, where are the fathers?
One of them is still undetermined. So my oldest son, his father refuses to do a DNA test. So the county and I are having a hard time getting him to determine if he's the father or not.
Is that so he doesn't have to pay child support?
I think so. I think he's scared of that. And then the other one, he lives in Robbinsdale, and he's trying to deal with his own mental health stuff and whatnot.
What does he have?
He has the same thing as me. He has anxiety and depression. I'm not sure if he has PTSD or not. But I have PTSD, so
What, if you don't mind me asking?
my PTSD?
Yeah.
Mine is mostly because I was taken from my mom twice, and because I saw the same thing happen to me with my children.
Isn't it crazy how CPS comes in, destroys your life, gives you mental issues, and then says, well, you can't be a parent with mental issues.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you gave them to me.
Exactly.
It's insane.
That is true. Yep, and actually that's a good point you brought that up, because that's the organization that I work with. We're finally having a CPS worker come to talk to us on one of our meetings. So that's basically one of the questions we're asking the county that took my children. We're asking Hennepin County, about the mental health piece. Like, why are you like harassing us if we have mental health? But it's basically in a professional question though. It's not like, oh yeah, this is, you gave us mental health. No, it's like, why does Hennepin County Child Protection feel like mental health is a crime?
I'm still here when my camera goes off.
Yeah, no problem. Like, why do all the counties and all the states feel like mental health is a crime? In a way, if you think about it, because the whole United States is going through this.
Right. So, you finished your case plan, correct?
Yes, I finished everything but the permanent housing part. That's the only part that I need to get done, is the permanent housing.
Are they assisting you with that in any way?
So actually, before we met on here, my child protection worker called me, and she's trying to help me get into the child protection housing program. But she had to ask me questions about the housing program I'm in now. So at this point, I'm not sure what they're planning on doing. Because I don't, like, at any point I could be homeless again within a minute, without even knowing. But
what could happen?
Even with this housing program, even like a month from now, I could, they could say, hey, we don't want to work with you anymore. You have to go somewhere else or find somewhere else. I could be homeless within a month without even knowing. It's one of those programs, like, if you violate like a rule, you're basically back out on the streets and being homeless. But I haven't violated any rules, so I've been helping people experiencing homelessness, because I was homeless, and I've been trying to do what I can to turn my life around, to prove to the state and the county or whoever that I'm not that type of person that they're claiming I am. I mean, you can't judge a book by its cover.
Isn't it sad that we have to prove who we are to parent our own children?
It is.
And it's like, well, what are you looking for? Because perfection does not exist.
Yes. Yep, that's true. Yep. At this point, I'm not exactly sure what they're looking for. I just know that they want our children for money. It's the one thing I know.
When we're done with this, I want to see your children.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll send you a picture. Definitely.
So when's your next court hearing?
So mine's coming up. So mine is on this coming Tuesday, the 8th at 9 a.m., which is also my youngest son's birthday, and he turns 2 years old. So I'm hoping if I don't get to say happy birthday to him on his birthday, at least I could see him the next day when I see both of them in person.
That's not fair.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Why can't you say happy birthday to your son on his birthday?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to my supervisor and see if it's okay with her and the foster family if I can, like, just see him for like 20 minutes, say happy birthday to him. I mean, he's too young to know what's going on, but I think he's starting to get a sense of what's going on. But I don't know if the reality actually hit him or not. But even if I do get to see him and for 20 minutes, I'm okay with that. As long as I get to see him to wish him a happy birthday, and then I'll see him the next day to celebrate it with him.
I wonder if there's something that we can do. Let me think. I wonder if there's something that we can do to. Have you thought of like creating a video? Maybe like a bunch of people can make a quick video, like happy birthday type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can show him his video. That'd be cute.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea.
I don't know.
I might consider doing that over the weekend.
When's his birthday again?
On Tuesday.
Let me know. I'll create a little video.
Okay, that'd be cool.
My kids can participate, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Thank you.
So your visits are still supervised?
Yes.
Who supervises them?
It's I don't know if it's an organization. I think it's an agency. It's called Family in Transition Services, I think. It's called FITS, FITS.
Okay. So what is next then? Just the housing, correct?
Mostly just the housing. Right now I'm working with the caseworker in Ramsey County. She is trying to help me figure out, what does child protection want me to do, and she's trying to help me get it. Whether it's housing or like permanent housing or get a job or
right.
Which obviously the job piece is going to be hard. For people who don't know, I have 4 pending charges on my background.
Why?
Three felony assaults and 1 felony neglect, and that's just all based on allegations against my youngest when they found him with a broken ankle. They decided to go forward with it a year ago in April, and so now that's on my background. So now I can't work with kids, I can't work with adults, I can't work with vulnerable adults, I can't work with elderly, which is crazy because through the time that I educated myself at the beginning of this year, that's all I've been doing. I'm actually helping families. I'm trying to help prevent families that are outside on the streets get their children taken.
Yeah.
And they say nothing but good things about me, like, oh my gosh, you know how to talk to people. Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, I didn't always know how to talk.
Right.
I would have never been able to find my voice if my boss didn't hire me. I'm also going to school.
I was gonna say, aren't you in school?
Yeah. Yep, I am going to school for criminal justice. It's American Intercontinental University, and it's online. And I'm going because I want to be a child protection attorney. Because we don't have many of those attorneys here that will actually listen to what the parents want. And honestly, I'm not in it for the money, so I would like to be a pro bono attorney. But I want to be one of those attorneys that knows everything. I don't want to just limit to just child protection. I want to know about housing. I want to know about mental health. I want to know about like criminal background stuff.
See, that's amazing. And you're right. Like you said, I want to know everything, because let me tell you something that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
When you need assistance, they give you the assistance, but then they hold it over your head.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right.
And then they use it against you.
Yep.
Well, if it's one of those like abusive relationships where they say, like, you're nothing without me, you can't survive without me.
Mm-hmm.
It's them.
Yep.
It's they tease you into thinking it's okay to accept.
Exactly.
Oh, it's so frustrating.
It is, but it's even harder when like you're actually, you're still in the process of doing it, because you can't like right now, like I can't do anything like negative, because otherwise I will be in prison. Because or not even in prison, I could probably be in jail. I think if I get one more felony on my record, I think from what Minnesota says, they would automatically put me in jail. And that could result me into losing my children as well. But which is weird, because I don't do anything negative. I follow the law.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know why they don't look at that and say, well, she's been a law-abiding citizen since day one. But I know I said this before, like in the past, I did stupid things. I used to work at Walmart and I stole money from the register because I was struggling. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's done that. I got fired, obviously, and that's another thing that is on my background that I'm trying to get expunged. And that's another reason why I cannot work. It's because nobody can trust me with money. So it's hard to find jobs that has nothing to do with money. And then now it's even more harder because I can't help like adults and children and families and anything like that, because it's all government jobs. But I don't want to work a government job. I'm fine working for a nonprofit. They don't look at your criminal background. They don't be mean to you, say, oh, wait a second, you got that on your background? No, go away. We don't want you. Like, they actually take a chance on you. They actually be like, I'm going to give you a chance, because that's how it should be.
Isn't it sad? All the judgment that goes on.
Mm-hmm. And that's what makes it harder for Americans now these days, is it's like, not only is it a race war, but it's also like a who's rich and who's poor war too.
Yeah, and the people who have money, they don't get messed with.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of people I know that have money are the ones that need mental help.
Yes. Yep. And I know, I mean, there are some rich families here that do get their children taken away, but they don't get them taken away forever. Like, they're able to get their children back. But if you're poor or you're homeless, child protection's right at your door, or they figure out where you're at and come and take your children from you.
Because they know we don't have a chance of fighting back.
Yep.
But they're wrong.
Yeah. But that was actually another question. Like, why does it seem like they only target like the families that are poor, that can't fend for themselves? But they give everybody else the opportunity to fight for their children back. And
I don't know.
That's kind of messed up. And then they take the children that don't need the help, but then they don't focus on the children that are actually being abused and murdered every single day.
Right. I'm going to be praying for you.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to get my kids back.
I know.
I honestly don't think anything's going to go forward. You know, I have my criminal court February of next year. So that's going to be a criminal trial.
Have you talked to Vince about what like steps that you can take to?
I actually have his book. I just got I just got his CPS book in the mail.
Have you? Let me see.
Yep. I haven't read it yet because I've been busy, but I did get it.
Good.
And I told him that I got it and told him a little bit what was going on, and he was upset. I was like, all right, we need to get an update from you.
Yes. So what did he say though? Anything like what to do?
He didn't give me an advice at this point. He just mostly asked like, what does CPS want from you? And I said, honestly, they just want my children for money. I'm doing everything off that case plan. It's just the only thing that's holding me back is getting a job so I can support my children, and getting permanent housing because I have no income. Those are the only two things that are keeping me away, from succeeding in this case.
Right.
But I'm going to get there. I'm not thinking anything negative, trying to stay positive throughout all this.
Yep.
And, I go to church, and even though I don't, pray or read my Bible, God already knows what we want.
He knows our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What would you tell people that are listening that are, what would you tell them?
For the people who are still currently dealing with CPS or don't understand what CPS does, let me do it two different ways. For the people that are dealing with CPS, hang in there because you're not alone. Keep fighting, stay positive. And I know a lot of people throw this at you, but go to church and believe in God because He is the only one that will help save us from these demons. And I'm sorry to call them demons, but it's true. For the people who haven't dealt with CPS or don't understand what it's like, just know that it can happen to you. And I'm not saying that to be negative. It's true. It could happen to anyone. It could happen to anyone. And you just won't know until someone wants to make a false allegation against you. But if you do become, to deal with them, just hang in there, like I said, and just continue to fight. And just know that you're always loved and that you got a person right here that's ready to fight for everyone.